I'm Madam Joyce from Educare TZ. I'm teaching biology, and today I'll be with you to discuss our topic, which is a very interesting topic. It is called the coordination and irritability. This topic, it is mainly found in Form 5, but you as advanced level, you have to know this topic. So in this topic, my students, we're going to deal with our subtopic, which is nervous coordination in mammals. In this subtopic, we have tried to look the introduction of it about nervous coordination, and we have seen in the previous session within the nervous coordination, it is made by nervous tissue, and we have seen that within the nervous tissue have been divided into two parts. That is a neuroglia together with the neurons. And in the last session, we tried to look on the adaptive features of nervous tissue. As I have said, when we are looking on the nervous tissue, we are looking on the neuroglia together with the neurons. So we are discussing on the adaptive features of the nervous tissue. So my students, in our today's session, we are going to proceed looking on the central nervous system that is found within the mammals. But before we are moving further, we need to know some terminology that can be used while we are studying the central nervous system together with the peripheral nervous system. So we have to know those terms, because these terms, if you don't know one of these terms, it will be difficult for you to understand what kind of terminology are there. So the first terminology that you have to know, my student, before we are moving further, this is stimulus. This terminology we're going to use more when we are discussing on the this topic of coordination. So you have to know what is this stimulus. So here, my student, we are saying that stimulus is any changes in the environment that can detect or that can be detected by an organism. So tunasema kwamba stimulus ni any changes that is occurring within the environment. We know that the environment is anything that is surround us, and any changes meaning that yale mazingira ya nje yakileta mabadiliko yoyote. Sasa yule binadamu au yule organism akidetect either there is a presence of cold or there is a presence of hot, that hot or that cold, we call it a stimulus. Also, within the human being, we are saying that we have almost two environments, meaning that the internal environment together with the external environment. When we are saying internal environment, meaning that the environment that is found within an organism. So here we are including water, including the interstitial fluid, including the salt which is found within the body of an organism. But the external environments is like pressure, touch, and so on. All of those, they are external environment. So let's look more explanation on the stimulus. So here we are saying that this is stimulus, it can be a physical change like the light, sound, or pressure. Or it can be chemical change like smell or taste. So in coordination, stimulus triggers the response, setting the whole process of motion. Kwa hiyo sasa tukija kuongelea stimulus au tunavyoendelea kudiscuss hii topic yetu ya coordination na irritability, tutatumia sasa sana hii neno ya stimulus, but you have to keep in mind that stimulus is any changes that is occurring on the environment that an organism can detect. So a person out tusema an organism can detect the presence of light. That is a stimulus. That is external stimulus. So that term you have to be aware with it. And also, apart from that term, my student, we have got another term that we have to know before we are proceeding further. In this term, it is called the receptors. Though we're going to discuss more about the receptors when we are looking on subtopic that is called the receptors. But here, we have to know at least the introduction of this receptor. What is receptor? Because we're going more further to discuss the receptor. So you have to know first the meaning of this receptor. Here, my students, we are saying that receptors are specialized cell or structure that detect stimuli. So tunasema kwamba these are specialized structure that detect stimuli. For example, the stimulus is the light. So the receptor here could be tunasema kwamba an eye. So ile eye ndio inakuwa kama receptor. Ndio maana hapa tunasema kwamba they are like sensors of the body picking up the information from the environment. Kile kitu ambacho kinachukua information kama kwa maana kwamba inachukua mabadiliko yote yanayotokea katika environment, ndiyo ambayo tunaita receptor. You can say that the receptor are all sensory organs that are found within an organism. What kind of sense organ are we talking about? We are talking about an ear, we are talking about an eyes, we are talking about tongue, we are talking about the skin. All of those, they are a sensory organ and they are receptor. They are function is to detect stimulus. And for example, here we are saying that your eyes have the receptors for light. So your ears have receptors for sound, and your skin has the receptors for touch, temperature, and the pain. So as I have said, when we are saying that a receptor, you have to keep in your mind that receptors are all sense organs that are found within an organism, that are responsible, or they are specialized to detect the presence of stimuli that is occurring either in internal environment or in external environment. And apart from that, also we have got another term that is coordinator. That is coordinator. So we have to know what is this coordinator now. Here we are saying that the coordinator is a part of the nervous system that receive information from the receptors and decide on the appropriate response. So here, my student, when we are talking about coordinator, that is an organ that is responsible for interpreting any kind of stimulus or any kind of impulse. Hapa kwenye coordinator tunaongelea kuhusu brain together with the spinal cord, ndiyo ambayo ina bring about coordinator. So coordinator ndiyo ambayo ina bring about response to an organism. So it bring about appropriate response to an organism depending on the kind of that stimuli that an organism can face. And here we are saying that it is often the brain or spinal cord which integrates sensory information and send out the signals to the effector. So this coordinator will send the signals to effector, what kind of action that the effector can produce. And when we are saying about the effector, though we are going to discuss it in the later slide, that is effector here we are talking about the muscles. So muscles ndiyo ambayo ina bring about appropriate response. And that response, it comes from the coordinator, that is brain together with the spinal cord. And apart from coordinator, here the point that you have to know in coordinator, here we are talking about the brain and the spinal cord, something that interpret or integrate the stimulus. And thereafter we have another term that is effector. We have to know also what is this effector. So here we are saying that effectors are the parts of the body that carry out the response. These are usually muscles or glands. So tukija kuongelea effector, ni ile organ ambayo sasa ina bring about any kind of response. So kama yule mtu alikuwa labda the stimulus is the light or the stimulus is the pain. So ile muscles interact upon that pain by removing that area from the pain source. So ndio tunasema kwamba effector, a good example here is the muscles together with the gland, ndio ambazo ziko specialized to bring appropriate response according to a kind of stimulus. And now we can say that muscles contract to produce movement while glands secrete hormones or other substances. So muscles tunasema kwamba ina contract. Ikicontract ndipo ambapo ina bring into appropriate response. So kama the reaction is to run, the muscles will act upon, meaning that it will contract, thereafter it will allow that person or that organism to run away from that stimulus. Or either it's the gland is responsible for producing hormones. So kama ile sehemu au kama ile stimulus inahitaji the presence of effect, specifically the glands, ita produce hormone. For example, when you see the substance, maybe snake, ukiona yule nyoka ameachia mdomo wake, so tunasema pale your muscles or your glands will produce appropriate hormone, that is adrenaline hormone. Unaweza ukafanya action, hata baadaye ukija kurudi kwenye normal situation unaanza kujiuliza hii ilikuwaje? Is due to the production of the hormone that is produced within the gland, so that to bring up about appropriate response, either to run from the stimulus or to stay on the stimulus. So hiyo ndizo effector. So my student, also we have another term that we're going to discuss later on the next session of this, on the next part of this session. So in our today's session, or the first part of this session, it ends here. And thank you for your attentively listening.